Hi everyone, welcome back to our game design channel. My name is Premjit. I am the game designer at devlogs and Moxit is our game design intern. So we have been building our shooter game and we have done lots of game design, and today we are going to do a recap what are the things we have completed. And when we started, Moxit also joined during that time. So before Moxit joined, we were just focusing on the gameplay controls and the maps, and it was playable but like more of like very prototype type of thing, right? You can play test it. But when Moxit was joining, we were starting with the UI and the flow, right? So Moxit, can you give us a recap of the things when you joined and how you process game this far?
So I've been in BattleBugs for like 2 months now, almost 2.5 months. Been a long journey. I joined as an intern for 3 months, and when I joined, the main game which the company was working on was this shooter game called BattleBugs. And at that time they were still in the starting phases for this game. There not much was done. Basic GDD was available at my starting days. I just got to read the GDD, understand how the game works, and also there were other hyper casual games, so I read the GDD of those, understood everything about them. And at the initial stages, my first task was that, like, in the shooter game there are many characters, right? And for those characters we wanted to create many skins like headgear, upperwear, bottomwear, etc. So for those, based on the rarity of the characters, my task was to collect references so that like we get different themed characters, based on the rarity, like the legendary, rare, and common. Three rarities. Among these three rarities, the references should define each rarity. Like common should look extremely common, like a normal T-shirt or something, and epic will enhance it more, like that. That was my first task, which was given to me. And moving forward, there were in the shooter game we had many other tasks also which we wanted to complete. So we finished it one by one, as in if you had seen our previous live streams, you can see that we had worked on the lobby screen, scoreboard mechanisms, then victory defeat screen, custom UI settings, kill confirmation, kill feed. The list goes on and on. So initially, how we started is that we listed down everything which we wanted to do, and after listing it down, we just started doing it step by step. We wanted it to be completed, right? So we couldn't do the victory defeat screen first because that would appear at the last. So we had to come from the first. The first thing which we did, as I said, was the skins of the characters, and after the skins of the characters references was completed, we went down to the game statistics, like whatever was present in the game. So for that, we collected references from other games first. You can show the Figma file now. I'll explain from there instead of just blabbering on.
Okay, good.
So, for example, as I said, we collected references, right? This is the references for the leaderboard mechanism. For example, in this Valorant deathmatch screenshot, which I am showcasing here you could see that we have put a square around the items which we wanted to take as our own. So this was just a brief concept which we wanted to take, like the avatar, name column, KDA, etc. So whichever concepts we felt good of, we just marked it down so that we can create a mock-up of it later. So once all the details which we wanted were marked down, we started creating the mock-up. Once the mock-up was finalized, my task was to basically annotate it. So annotate as in create a box border around it and then name what that particular element is. Why this is necessary, as in, so once I annotate everything, it will be easier for anyone who sees this to understand what each element represents. So this was done not only for this scoreboard, as I said, it was done for all the elements, for all the mockups which we had created. And once these annotations were done, our next task was to like document it so that the everyone can access the document, read the document, and understand what's going on. And it's like the concept artist will read the document and understand what to create. The developers will read the document and understand how the mechanism will work. We started with the UI customization. Actually, we just created this basic mock-up for how the layout would look during the gameplay, because this was the main factor in our game, right? So we wanted to include everything, and we took references from other games such as BGMI, COD Mobile, etc. And here, like, we added every element like the joystick, shoot button, scope button, mini map, etc. And once this was done, as I said, after updating it in the document, we went forward with sprint mechanisms works in the shooter game. For example, if you see in this default buttons UI, there isn't any like sprint button, right? So since it was not included in this, I did some research on BGMI and COD Mobile and how the sprint button mechanism works there. Yeah. So here you could see that all the joystick mechanism for BGMI was broken down. Like each element, what was happening in the screen was noted down with the help of a GIF file and also with the help of a description. So it's like there are many elements, right? It's not just that there's only one or two elements. So it's like with the joystick itself, you can move forward, backward, left, right, and you can even sprint. And there's a mechanism of auto sprint as well, where you can auto lock the sprint button and the character will sprint continuously without even you interacting. every single detail was broken down so that we could get ideas what to take from these games and put it into our own game. So this is where we got the idea for the UI elements, and this is where we got the idea for the joystick controls. Once we finished up with the joystick controls, our game developer had made a basic gameplay mechanism, and in that game we wanted to do some play testing, and during that play testing we found out that like we had to keep like damage multipliers so that each body is differentiated into three parts, and headshot will do more damage, body shot will do medium amount of damage, and leg shot will do less damage. So for that again we had to do some research. So we here is the research for damage and health system from BGMI. So we can see that research has some data regarding each weapon doing different amount of damage. Then body has some damage multipliers where each part of the body when hit with a bullet will do different amount of damage. Then BGMI had some other parts such as the body armor, penetration damage, and also here the health bar indication is shown how the health would get reduced whenever the player would get damaged. So all this data was collected, and while collecting this data we realized that since our game is a free for all mode, like there needs to be a mechanism where the player will regain his health, right? So we went to Valorant for that, how Valorant does the death like health regeneration part in death matches. So basically whenever an enemy dies he will drop a med pack, and if we pick up that med pack the player will instantly regenerate the health. So I just gave a basic preview of it, but there are more data provided here. So based on that we collected the health regeneration system from Valorant and damage multiplier system from BGMI. So after doing this, we started doing the mock-up for these two. Here, after making the breakdown, we collected the data from that game and made our own like damage multiplier for our game. Initially, you can see that we had made it into 4 categories, but afterwards we realized that after some brainstorming session, we figured out that only 3 is required. It's not necessary for legs to be divided into 2 parts again, upper legs and lower legs. So we only kept the legs multiplier here. And also here you can see the data collected from our own game. Like we had created some base damage for each weapon, and for that, based on that base damage we had calculated how much would each damage multiplier do, like the upper body, shot and leg damage. So in our game we had also classified our weapons into 4 categories: assault rifles, sniper, launchers, and close combat weapons. Now if we go back to the shooter game UI page, after performing the damage and health system, we had 12 weapons in our game, right, based on the Google sheet which we created. So we wanted a mechanism where the player would choose the weapon instead of always giving the player a default weapon, because at that point in time we had the player getting only default weapons. So what we did, we created a weapon selection UI for the player, and in this weapon selection UI, player got the mechanism to see the stats of the equipped weapon, and you also got like help of getting the comparison tab where you could compare the stats of the newly selected weapon with the equipped weapon. So that was the new feature implemented. Also one of the feature was that he could, like, instead of pressing on the lock-in button, once the lock-in button was pressed he couldn't like change weapons, right? So that was like a bad thing for us. We wanted the player to change the weapon. So this feature allowed the player to select a new weapon as well once he did a second tap on a different gun. So that was the mechanism. If you want to understand the complete single concept of this, once the updated selection UI was done, our next task was that usually in games whenever the player plays, he would like to customize the UI settings so that he can have his own customized UI settings. We can reset whatever changes we made. We can change the opacity of the buttons, etc. So everything which was present in BGMI was broken down. And after breaking down, we created a mockup for our own mechanism. So once we understood the breakdown of the mechanisms, we created a basic mockup for our own game. So here you could see that we have a settings page, and in that settings page we'll have a customized control button, and once this is pressed the HUD type page will open up where 3 different HUD layouts will be present. Again, this idea was taken from the Valorant mobile game. If you could see here, this was one of the reference images which we took. So 3 different HUD layouts will be provided, and each of these HUD layouts is different. So this is basically 2 finger placement, 3 finger placement, and this is compact placement. So we took that idea from here and added it to our own, and each of these placement UIs has their own different placement, like 2 finger, 3 finger, and 4 finger. And whenever the player clicks on customize for any of these HUD layouts, this page will open up where the player can customize whatever is required. This was the flow which we did it in. Then once this custom UI button settings flow was done, our next thing was we went with the lobby screen. In the lobby screen you can see that, so in this you can see we have a button to select the mode which the player wants to play in. play button to actually start the game, after which the coins will be deducted. And here this is the game mode selection screen, where currently we have only free for all mode, but in the future we'll be implementing team deathmatch and battle royale mode as well. So for that, even before we actually bring it out, we wanted to have a screen for it, so that we know the basic idea of what will go on in the future. And rest of the tabs is the same as you would see in the mobile, but instead of portrait mode, it's in landscape mode here. So once we finished up with the lobby screen, as I said, once everything is done, I just basically annotate everything, and after annotating, I update it with the Google document so that everyone can understand. So this was the flow for the lobby screen. Once the lobby screen was done, we went on with skill feed references. So based on the skill feed, we collected data, what and all was required. So mostly we took the idea from Valorant, where the character's avatar will be shown along with the name and the weapon which the character used, and the difference in color between the our team and allies. But in our game we didn't have teams, so we had to differentiate the color between ourselves and the enemy. So we created a basic mock-up for it. This was the only thing which we created first: player killed enemy. Once we created this, we had to find out all the edge cases. So based on that, we created 3 other edge cases: enemy killing the player. So based on all that, we created mock-ups for it, and after creating it, annotated it, and then again updated it in the Google document. So this was the process for kill feed. And once the kill feed was done, we went with the kill confirmation UI. So in kill confirmation UI, again using the references, we took the idea from Valorant again, where the icon will be shown based on the weapon which was used. For example, if it's a default weapon, this skull icon was shown, but if the weapon has some skin, there would be a different icon for the kill confirmation UI. So we took that idea from here. So based on that, we created this mock-up basically. So we had like 12 weapons in our game, right? So for each of the weapon, we created a different styled kill confirmation UI, and also this kill confirmation UI is slightly related to the weapon which is used. So this was the kill confirmation UI mockup which we did. This is still in the works. This is not done. Most of the other stuff is almost like in the completion, but this is still yet to be done. Then we figured out that we didn't have victory screen mechanism at that time. So what did we do? We wanted to finish the victory screen mockup. So we created, based on the references collected, we got the idea from Valorant, this victory and defeat screen. And also we took this idea from CSGO, where the ranks of each of the players will be shown, and also the player stats will be shown. So based on this, we wanted to create the mockup, and this was the mockup which we created. So victory screen, there will be basically some green tint, and also there will be a subtext showcasing that like some amount of passion is added to it, some amount of personality. Same thing goes for defeat. It will say don't cry, just to like kind of motivating the player to maybe win the next game. And once this victory defeat screen goes away, the player will come to this result screen, where just like CSGO, the characters are shown along with the player data, and even the scoreboard is shown along with the kill stats, death stats, trophy rewards, coin rewards, etc. And here play again button is available for the player to play the game again, and back button to go back to the lobby. Here you could see that as Pranjit has put the images, these are the updated images, like updated art for our result screen and the victory screen. So this is the screen which is actually shown, where the player stats are shown, and also the player weapon which he used will be shown. Along with that, the ranking will be shown at the top. The first player will be at the middle, followed by the second and third player. Then there is a scoreboard button. Upon clicking it, the entire game scoreboard will be shown, and every player's data will be showcased here, along with the players who won the trophies and who won the coins, and the amount also will be shown. If the player wants to start the game again, he can spend the 500 coins and start a match again, or else he can press the back button to go back to the lobby. Currently in this result screen, the emote button is not shown, but we'll implement that as well, where the emote button will shown beside each player, so that they can emote, and all the players who are viewing the screen can see that simultaneously. So this was the flow for victory defeat screen. Once that was done, we realized that we didn't have a matchmaking mechanism. We just had a lobby screen, and once the play button was clicked, he would directly start the match, right? That's not how game works. So we implemented this matchmaking mechanism, where once the play button was clicked, it would start finding a match. It would indicate it with this loading icon and also with a timer here. For this particularly, we didn't get any references because we had a basic idea on what to do, on what would the flow be. So this is what we did. Then think we are coming up with the last part of what I did. So last part was we had custom settings, right, for UI customization, but we didn't have custom crosshair settings where the player can customize his crosshair. So based on that, we again had to make a mock-up for that. So based on the references collected, I understood that this was what had to be done. So previously I had created the settings screen, but in that settings screen there was no customized crosshair button. So firstly, the settings screen was changed and the customized crosshair button was added. And once the player clicks on this button, this page will open up where different crosshair styles are shown and crosshair colors are also shown. And the player can customize based on whatever is required. And also two images will be showcased here. One will be the crosshair in the game, and one will be the crosshair on the enemy's head in the game. So so that the player gets an idea how it would look like. Then there are two options for the player here. One, he can customize the crosshair whenever the scope is not open in the game, and another when he can customize the crosshair whenever he is like opening the scope of a particular weapon. So those are the options provided, and also whichever color or style of the crosshair is currently selected, it will be highlighted with this golden yellow border. So that was a feature done. This was actually the last feature which was done. Apart from this, we'll be continuing with finishing up with the Google document and also the sheets with what work whichever was required. And also one more thing which is left is exit pop-up. So whenever the player wants to exit the game during the gameplay, so for that we haven't done a mock-up yet. So we'll be continuing with that and creating a mock-up for that. So this is the entire process since I started the internship. So these are all the works which is done so far.
Cool. So let's end it here, and we'll discuss internally what to do next, and also we need to do the setup for Elgato. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So
thank you guys for watching.